So first of all, I got to ask, you just came back from Atlanta. What were you doing? It looked pretty cool. I saw you with King Charles there.
Yeah, so it was kind of a last minute thing. We got an interview with Charles Barkley coming out next week
Oh,
for the podcast brand that I work on. I work on Spittin' Chicklets right now at Barstool Sports. It was kind of last minute. One of our talents, he works for the TNT side as well for hockey, and they became friends. And so everyone's kind of just there, and it was kind of a last minute thing. But yeah, we
that's
just got
cool.
an interview with Barkley, so that's pretty cool.
Very cool. Yeah. So it's a pleasure talking to you. So I'm here with my film class, and we might have a couple other people pop in from Smithtown as well. But I'm going to record it just to share it with the film students there. So yeah, you went to school for when I had you in class, you were kind of like two main focuses, which were sports and video and film, and now you're doing sports and video and film. So it's nice to kind of see that work out for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I played sports my whole life. I mean, when I went to college, I always wanted to be a baseball player, but the biggest thing I knew going into it was there's always a life after sports, and that's where you kind of helped me. And to find my college, I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design. They had a great baseball team when I went there. I mean, they had a guy drafted every single year from the pitcher aspect of it. I tore my shoulder my sophomore year, and that kind of ended my career for sports. And it led me to my film career. I graduated 2 years later and kind of jumped right into working on different movies and TV shows and stuff. Did music videos, commercials. So there's like so many avenues that I worked in throughout the years. But it was great because college, I mean, I learned so much. I went for directing, writing, and producing. So it's kind of like you kind of have to know everything. So that's kind of helpful now because the brand I work on, it's kind of like a one man type of show type of thing. Like I got to film, I have to edit, I have to do everything. So it kind of is helpful on that. But yeah, that was kind of my backstory.
That's actually really interesting. So yeah, so you work for Barstool Sports, which is like actually huge, right? It's one of the biggest social media companies out there right now.
Mhm.
Really popular with everyone. So it seems like a pretty cool gig. Were you always with Spit and Chicklets, or you work around a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm only with Spittin' Chicklets. It's pretty big in the United States. It's like the biggest hockey podcast, hockey brand in the world, actually. We're huge in Canada. It's insane when we go there. It's like, I don't know, like the guys, the talent, they're like the Beatles walking around. It's insane. But yeah, it's a really cool job. I mean, social media, I mean, it wasn't my first like my first love passion is like film. That's what I would want to do. But my second job is actually with Spittin' Chicklets with Barstool. I mean, I have a lot of creative freedom there, which is awesome. There's a lot of new things going on every day with social media. I mean, so many different algorithms changing with each platform, um, and different types of like the way you got to edit things are completely different now than what they were when I first started. But yeah, just I'm just with Spittin' Chicklets. I brought in another kid who actually went to the same college as me.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
I got him his like first job out of college, which is cool. And then we have one intern, and that's kind of our whole crew.
So that's interesting. So you really are doing it all. It's kind of, I mean, like that's helpful to know for teaching, just because, like, we're in editing, and I think most of the people here really would prefer to be directing and producing. But it's good to know that you're really going to have to do a little bit of everything. How much? What is like, your daily for any project? Like, what's your timeline like? What are you doing?
So every week we'll have at least one episode come out, one podcast come out. So that will be like recorded. Usually comes out on Tuesday mornings. We'll record that Monday night. It will edit Monday night into Tuesday morning. They'll come out around 6 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, and Tuesday morning, two of us will be editing promos that go on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Make a Snapchat show throughout the week. And any trip that we go on, we usually have a vlog or some type of one-off video for sponsor brands. That's kind of more my role. I've kind of taken on the bigger aspects, bigger sponsorships aspects and everything. I know you mentioned you showed them the documentary that just came out that we just did, the NYPD
Which
FDNY
was
one.
super cool. I mean, like, fascinating. Yeah, some of the people knew the game and the history of it, but like I found it fascinating. I didn't know it had gotten quite so intense. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, especially that was something that I kind of came on with Chicklets and Barstools. Like we have the opportunity at Barstool to kind of almost be like ESPN, instead of just doing that like kind of like fart joke type of stuff that people love, and that's kind of what we are. But we also have the element to we have the ability to become serious on some ends, and that was kind of the first step to it. But yeah, that was me and my intern. We shot that, and crunch time kind of came down, and I needed a little help with some editing, and we brought in an editor with the company. He probably worked with us for about 2 weeks and turn around. Like it was a side project throughout the whole year, I would say. Yeah, so it was cool to see what a side project could do. So that kind of grew and kind of helped the company now with sponsorships. So
I would
hopefully,
imagine, yeah. I mean, I liked it because it was a people story, like, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't really even need to care about hockey because it was so intense with the personalities and, like, you know, it's just a great story. So that actually is, I can't believe it's a side project. Wow.
yeah, that was. I mean, I was doing complete other things. I mean, I had so many vlogs and videos that come out. We do ball hockey tournaments as well, so we have videos for that coming out. We have a lot of planning for that. We have live shows throughout the year as well. So that was kind of just on the back burner. So I mean, I wish it wasn't. I wish I had more time to focus on it. It could have been so much better than what it was. But yeah, that was like the main thing, because I wanted to take the sports element, my film side, and I want to bring it all together to kind of create something new at Barstool, which would be cool. To almost do like 30 for 30s, E60, something like that.
Right. That's cool. Well, nice job. I can't believe so few people worked on it and it was such a crunch. You would never know
Yeah,
why.
yeah. Basically, two people basically made that whole thing.
Wow.
So
I mean, the question I have to ask you is, you know, so you're in the industry now and like you're just working with your head down, but you know, what do you wish you knew in school? Like, or what did you wish you spent some time on or they taught you?
so the biggest thing with SCAD, it was a great school. Um, a lot of things with SCAD, like I was given a lot of opportunity with. I mean, I came in when film was still kind of dominant with everything, and the red camera just came out, and like that was the cool thing. So we're kind of switching over to digital. So you learn a lot of creative aspects when I was in college. Um, you get to work with a lot of talented people. You get to kind of pick your route that you want to go. But the biggest thing I felt like a lot of people lack, and a lot of colleges as well, is the business side. The film industry, television industry, even social media and everything. That, I mean, it's all creative, it's entertainment and everything, but it's a business. It's all about money, and that's the biggest thing they don't really kind of teach you, especially with film. Film is very a lot of people don't understand it when it comes to the business side. You got to get into, depending on what your route, what you want to do, you have to get into your union, work your hours, and work your way up and get into your IATSE. If you want to be like a director, writer, producer, you got to work your way up into the guilds, and that's kind of something they don't really teach you in school. But I mean, the most important thing I thought when I was in school and outside is like just networking. I mean, the biggest life, like, I mean, I got two things that I would say that kind of I always keep in the back of my mind. When I was in college, I took an editing class with a professor named John Alvord, and he was a very respected editor in Hollywood, and he took the job at school, and just to go back to Savannah for family reasons and stuff. And one of the kids were critiquing a film, and I guess he didn't know it was Alvord's project that he edited, and he kind of trashed it a little bit. And my teacher was like, I could go back tomorrow, work if I wanted to. So like the biggest takeaway is always IMDb, always kind of research who you're working with, who your superiors are, who your coworkers are. It's going to help you in the long run too. Not just to avoid like that awkwardness if you bring something up about their project, but it helps you know like their skill set and everyone's like experience throughout the years. And the second biggest thing is networking. I mean, I got my first job. I worked for Robert De Niro. It was my first job out of college. And his lawyer kind of helped me get that route. He's been with him for years. Same guy, Tom Harvey. He kind of told me it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how talented you are in this industry. I mean, family of people in the industry are going to get the jobs over you, because I was coming from, I mean, my mom's a secretary for the county. My dad was a computer programmer, so I had no ins and outs. So networking is your biggest friend when it comes to these type of jobs for the creative field.
Yeah, I think I saw you at Tribeca, right? Like I actually bumped into
Yeah.
you. You were, yeah, which is really cool. That's a fun. What was it like working the festival while you were there?
Oh, it's really cool. I mean, that's a different side of film too, because that's kind of like that independent route. I mean, there's kind of four or five, I would say, main festivals that if you were ever to make an independent film, you'd want to get into, and Tribeca is one of them. It was really cool to see like that side of things. I was never really big into the independent filmmaking.
Mhm.
But it's always nice to see and see how talented people are on that side. I mean, it's grown so much to independent filmmaking. I mean, from what Sundance was to what it is now, especially like that's where people get found. I mean, the biggest examples there, like Ryan Coogler, um, with Fruitvale Station. I mean, that came out there. It's a $900,000 movie that was made and picked up, and now he's doing what Black Panther, Marvel movies, Creed. Um, Even Damien Chazelle, he made that Whiplash into a short film that got picked up, became a feature length movie, and now he's doing whatever he wants. He did La La Land, almost won the Oscars. I mean, that's kind of like where you find yourself doing it. And for independent filmmaking, like it's tough. It's a very tough route to go down, especially if you want to be a writer, director, producer. It's a lot of finding money to make something on your own, and that's the toughest thing you could probably do. So if you can make something out of that, that's insane.
Right. That's pretty good. So how hard was it? I mean, one of the things that I think a lot of time is spent on is like, once you graduate, like actually getting a job is important. Like almost any job, like you need like, something on your resume. How difficult was that process for you?
Um, so when I was in college too, I was also working in the bar industry as well.
Mhm.
Which was always a good thing and a negative thing, I would say. A lot of films come to Savannah now when I was there, for tax incentive reasons and stuff. So there's a lot of productions down there. So a lot of producers come in to those bars, and that's where you gotta make your friends. So I made a lot of my networking through the bar industry as well, and that's how I got into film sets in Savannah, and it's kind of how I got back to New York and Kentucky and all these other places I traveled to work. Um, it's kind of tough to get your foot in right away, I would say, depending on what aspect you want to go to. If you want to go to film, um, I mean, you got to work your way up basically. If you have never worked on a film set before, I mean, I would say it's pretty easier to get like a production assistant role, depending on what region you're in too. But yeah, I mean, it is challenging to get your first job if you're looking for like a full-time job, like I have with Barstool. It's kind of tough as well. I would say you gotta stand out somehow. You gotta do something different. I would say, especially in the creative industry and entertainment industry, like stand out. I would say, be put yourself out there. Maybe awkward at some points, but you got to make yourself known.
That's good advice. Yeah, I think networking in general, like not being a jerk,
Hmm.
really helps. I mean, like you don't know where people end up in the future too. Like this, especially in college, where you have all the people and they end up in other jobs. They help each other out. That's certainly huge. So what in terms of like the tools you use? I know like you kind of started at this point where everything was sort of changing,
Hmm.
and it still hasn't really stopped changing because now you have AI and other things kind of coming in. So, what do you suggest like people focus on at least learning a little bit about? Because there's drones, there's a little bit of everything going on.
So when I first started out, I mean, film was like Panasonic cameras, film strips, sending out the Kodak and everything. That was still a thing. Um, I still think it's one of the most interesting ways to make a movie. You only get a couple takes, so everyone's got to be on point. That I feel like that's a um, different now with digital. I mean, you could do as many takes as you want. I think people get kind of lazier. I mean, more people now have access to it, which is a good and bad thing. I mean, you have the ability now to make anything you want, and get it out there for any type of money, which is a good thing and bad thing. So things change constantly, especially with cameras, with editing systems. So I would always just be researching. It's like being a doctor, like being a doctor, there's new medical treatments every day. You always got to be reading. You always got to be reading the magazines, the journals, the articles. YouTube is fantastic. I mean, if there's anything new that's coming out camera wise, editing system wise, go straight to YouTube. There's a lot of creators out there who give a lot of tutorials, and that's their whole job, is just tutorials and this stuff. Sony, Canon, they send their products out to these people so they can make videos, and that's their life. Is, I mean, Peter McKinnon, that's what he does. Um, Jared, Jared, I can't remember his channel name. He's great with the technical aspects when it comes to editing, especially. So there's a lot of content creators I would say to follow. I mean, social media is great too, because you could use Instagram kind of not always as like, you don't have to go crazy on it, but follow a couple influencers, couple content creators that do the teaching stuff. Like Full-Time Filmmakers, a great example too as well. They kind of made this weird online school, and they just put out videos all the time on YouTube and and Instagram. So instead of scrolling and seeing like almost nothing going on and just losing your mind, follow a couple creators, and maybe you'll stop on a video, you'll learn something new.
That's good advice. Yeah, I mean, I do that myself, so I know what you're talking about. So what are you actually using right now to work?
So right now, I used to be a big Canon guy for a while, but Sony kind of, I made the switch over to Sony. I first started using Final Cut. It was my editing choice. Avid, I don't know what you guys are all learning and everything. Avid's kind of the standard, I would say, for editing. It's one of the toughest ones, I would say, but it's actually the best one, I would say. But that's a standard for film and television usually. Final Cut 7 at the time was amazing. That was like the next one down. A few filmmakers use that one as well. And then Adobe was nothing at the time. They had Premiere Pro, but now Premiere Pro has become like the industry standard, especially for digital filmmaking and digital content creation, because you have that capability of taking your Premiere project into Audition, into After Effects, and you could layer all these things together, and all these programs work in sync. So Premiere Pro is what I'm using now. I finally made that switch over probably about 5 years ago, and I switched over to Sony. I started with the A7 III. It was a great camera to use, but now we're using the FX3s, FX6s. Those are great. Kind of simple. FX3s, I think, is a great camera. I mean, A7 S3 is also comparable to that, but it's more manual, I would say, the FX3s. It's more fit for like my type of growing up with, like, for film. Like everything's manual when it comes to that, but there's a lot of great automatic features that they have as well. But especially for cameras too. I mean, a lot of people think, hey, I'm going to buy this expensive camera and it's going to change everything. I mean, that's not the case. I mean, it's still the person behind the lens is the one that makes it. And when it comes to cameras too, I mean, your lens, if you don't have a top tier lens on top of your body, there's like no point in even using that camera. The most important thing I would say is your lens out of anything.
Yeah, makes sense.
You could take like a Rebel, a Canon Rebel. I mean, that's still kind of like old, I would say, or 70 was what I used to use. If you put a nice glass in front of that, you can make it look amazing. No one can ever tell what you shot with.
Yeah, that's good. I'm good to hear. We're using Premiere, so I'm glad to hear that that's what you're using. So yeah, and it integrates. I mean, the integration is key, I think, especially now with the AI stuff coming out. That's going to kind of change a lot too.
Especially now, yeah. We had a guy, he works for graphics, our graphics department at Barstool. I don't know if you heard of it. It's called Autopod.
Okay,
It's like a mod on top of Premiere Pro. Basically, it edits everything for you. Like if you're doing a multi-camera sequence and you're doing a podcast of someone who's talking, and you just sync up all the audio tracks and you put them into this thing, it'll cut everything for you. It's insane.
It's so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. All right, so before I let the students start asking questions, I always like to ask just what your advice is for students. So for high school and for college, since both audiences will be listening.
I would say always just be open-minded with everything. Always want to learn. There's new things happening all the time. I mean, your creative side on everything, especially like the more you learn, the more you can grow. Networking technically and creatively. Just be open to everything. When it comes to like figuring out what you want, I don't know if most of you guys know what you guys want to do yet. That's the biggest thing. I mean, figure out what you want, work your way to it, and just do what makes you happy.
All right, cool. So let's go to questions. Anyone want to volunteer to go first?
My question would be with like AI becoming like increasingly more popular, how do you think that would affect, in your opinion, how would it affect the industry, whether good or bad?
AI, it's like a double-edged sword, I would say. AI. I mean, one, technology is always going to hurt any industry of workforce, but I mean, it's also a tool to help you. Um, yes, it could get stuff done quicker for you and help us in the long run, but it will never, I don't think it'll ever take over people's positions or anything. Like they're not the ones being the creatives, they're just doing, AI will do the work for you, but they're not the ones being the creative one behind it. I mean, the most important, I would say, AI is the human brain. I mean, that's what has the creativity. That's what makes the movie magic. That what makes television. I mean, AI will never, I don't think we'll ever get to that point. I mean, it probably will in about 50 to 100 years. But right now, I mean, use it as a tool the best you can. I mean, some of them are kind of lacking, I would say. You always have to make adjustments, but it's there to help you. And I'll look into it, I mean, as much as possible.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It actually puts a bigger emphasis on creativity because that's the one thing it can't do. Yeah. All right, who's up next? All right, so Melanie asked online, let me just read it all. So what's your advice for posting to social media before you actually become anything?
For like a business account or a personal account?
It looks like personal, just as almost a business card to the world.
Okay. It would all depend on what platform you're using. So every single week we have meetings with each of the platforms, especially at Barstool. We'll have people, that's their job, is to talk to Instagram, talk to Twitter, talk to TikTok, and they work with us because we're one of the biggest, I would say, social media platforms or brands out there. Everything's changing, so I would kind of be aware of the changes to the algorithm, what they're kind of pushing for. I know for a while for YouTube Shorts, that was kind of was like, I didn't like it at first, but now it's a big thing. It helps you grow. With Instagram Reels. But each platform is different, so you can make videos or something that's just general and can fit on all platforms, which is what I kind of do as well. But each platform is different, so I would look at like your top tier content creators on each platform, see what they're doing for their videos, and make that. And also posting, I mean, you could look at your analytics from each platform. They'll tell you the best time to post, what days to post, who your engagement audience is, and always posting. That was the biggest thing a lot of podcasts and a lot of brands don't really do. If you can take advantage of what each algorithm wants, for example, like Instagram's probably my favorite. Instagram wants the 16:9 vertical videos now. They want reels, they want captions, they want fast changing. If you can change a video within, I would say, 5 seconds, always have something changing and flipping, and they want you to post all the time. So for brands that don't do that, you're not going to see growth as much. Even with reels, you could hide your reels so they don't show up on your pages, but they're still in the discoveries. But if you don't post every day or consistently on the times what you should be, you won't see growth. That's why, like, you could look at our brand compared to other brands at Barstool. I mean, we have over 1 million on our Instagram. Other brands, they may have better looking stuff or something, but they're not posting as much. So always be posting and always try to fit your videos to the platform.
Is there a difference in length too between the different social medias?
Kind of. Everyone kind of wants short form, really quick, snappy, short attention span stuff. All of them kind of want captions, but also when it comes to, like, if you're doing it for money, for monetization, like, Facebook's a big outlet, especially they tell us all the time, Facebook's a big outlet. Get it over 90 seconds. You can make a lot of money on Facebook. So it all depends on what type of content you have and what your goal is as well.
That's interesting. So like, yeah, Barstool is kind of a monster in social media. Like how, like, is there a social media division there that's kind of informing you, or are you guys checking the analytics yourself?
So we have a guy up in Canada who kind of helps us out with that. And also our like lead producer, executive producer, he does like kind of that side as well. But we all kind of have information when it comes to the analytics of it. They'll send out a spreadsheet every single week about what our posts are doing, how many posts we're making, interaction, engagement, who's growing, who's not growing. But that's the biggest thing I would say for your brand or your personal self is growing yourself as fast as you can, as rapidly as you can to get yourself there, because people have been doing it for years now, especially with YouTube when it comes to subscriptions. Not many people subscribe anymore. So you could see that like 90% of your videos are unsubscribed viewers, and they may be loyal viewers, but kind of missed the subscription thing with YouTube years and years ago. And those are the people like PewDiePie, Mr. Beast, like Logan Paul. Those people kind of got in early. So if you're getting in late now, you got to do as much as you can to grow as fast as you can if you want to, be up there and be relevant or get yourself out there.
Yeah, I think there's just too much out there, right?
Yeah, there's so much out there.
Yeah. So do you guys, like, I know Portnoy, I think, sold the company. Is he still involved with you guys? Do you interact with him or not?
Yeah, so Dave, he's basically a head content guy now. We're fully owned now by Penn Entertainment, which is a gambling company. I mean, they own casinos. They basically own us. They want to buy us for basically helping promote their casinos and their online sports book and everything, which is basically now the Barstool Sportsbook. I mean, they're a multi-billion-dollar company. The gambling industry is huge. We're kind of like the content. I mean, it's comparable to DraftKings and FanDuel. They kind of have the content creation, but they're completely lacking on like that side. People don't really go to DraftKings or FanDuel for the content creation. So that's what they did with us. So Dave, I don't know how much longer he's got in him. I mean, multi-millionaire now. I mean,
yeah. Well, how many more pizzas? Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, we actually have a video coming out next Wednesday with Dave. We did a golf outing out in Arizona with him and Josh Richards. So that should be pretty good.
Cool. Anyone want to ask another question?
How did you get started with like Barstool? Did you like reach out to them first, or did they see your content and offer you a position?
The way I got started at Barstool, I started basically at like the end of COVID. I came back up from Georgia. I lived in Georgia for like 12 years. Came back from Georgia. COVID happened. Nothing was going on. I was just at home. I was actually about to move to Mexico and start so I was just doing freelance videography and photography. I was going to start a business down there for everyone's going down there for like Instagram modeling, and I would start my own business down there. I made a video that I posted on Instagram. I just tagged the right people. And I mean, I've been applying at Barstool for 4 or 5 years, never heard anything back. It's such a big company. So I tagged the right person her name was Jackie. She was one of the PR girls there. She sat behind this girl who does the Mean Girl podcast now, Alana, who's dating my executive producer. So it kind of trickled down to my executive producer, this video, and he saw it. He's like, yeah, we are looking for someone. We posted it, saw your background. So they kind of looked at my Instagram, my portfolio page and everything, and they kind of reached out after that. So I just made kind of one video for them, and it kind of took off. I just tagging the right person. I mean, so like networking is your best friend.
Yeah, that totally sounds good. And congrats on all your work. I mean, like, especially that doc that you did with Barstool was really impressive. So I'm gonna be showing that to my film class next year too.
Thank you. Yeah, next year should be insane. Next year is going to be the 50th anniversary. Hopefully we're involved again. If not, no big deal. But I'm kind of still working with them on like my personal side because I'm still friends with everyone on those teams. So I think next year we're trying to do it an outdoor game with the NHL series, stadium series. I think it'll be at like MetLife outdoor game. It's going to be insane. It might be the biggest game they ever have.
That's crazy.
But yeah, and also thank you for everything, Mr. Niels. I mean, I was lucky enough to have you for I think 3 years. I took all of your class. I think I took all your classes,
I
and
think so, yeah.
my senior year I didn't have one of your classes, so I did that TA program with you.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be where I am today without you and taking your classes. You really helped me. I mean, you were my favorite teacher back in high school. I wouldn't be where I am today at all. I wouldn't have the experience I had from college. I mean, thank you for everything.
Well, I really appreciate it. And it's really great to see your success now and the cool things you're doing. So it's awesome. And, you know, you'll help all of my future students, which is great. That's awesome. Thanks so much, Ron. Have a good one.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys.
Take it easy.